A&B Audiobooks presents The Son of the Moon, a fanfiction by Antoine Bandele, read for you by Callan Brown. Prologue. The room was dark and lonely. A single bed sat in the corner, with robes, cloaks and trousers bedecking the soft, crumpled sheets. The end tables on either side were overturned, pictures cracked, glass scattered. 2 bottles were crushed, and the liquid that was once within them was ruining the simple carpet, making it stink of a horrible mixture, a concoction not meant to be blended. The most out-of-the-ordinary aspect of the room, though, was not the shattered glass, the disordered clothes, or the rude stench. There were markings etched into the walls, and engravings torn into the floor. They wrote pain, sorrow, and fear, but they could not be interpreted by the unseasoned mind. Only someone who experienced that same fear that made one's heart beat inside out, that same sorrow that made one's soul darken into abyss, that same pain that made one's bones ache and crunch, could understand the savage language that was carved across the room. A spotted red padlock hung from the door, binding wood to wall. Crimson dots fell from the padlock to the floor, joining another red, much larger spot on the carpet. The large spot stretched and dotted itself into a corner, forming into the shapes of paws as it travelled through the room's disarray. The paw shapes designed themselves into another pool of red, and the pool expanded itself across a dark, furry figure, matted with the crimson colour. Red. Red was all the figure in the corner knew as it coughed for breath. There was nothing else, no other reason, no other word for it. Within the figure, though, there was something else. There was reason. There was another word. Joel Thomas knew it was blood. Savage, cruel, revolting, scarlet blood. Blood was his sweat. Blood was his tears. Blood was his pain, sorrow, and fear. Blood was murder. The werewolf was losing itself back into Joel, metamorphosing back into a civil, tamed consciousness. The wolf's fur regressed into Joel's brown skin, where it would stay hidden until it defiled him once again. The sickly, yellow, cat-like eyes rounded out and softened to a light brown. The sharp teeth smoothed out, but the mouth was still bloody and welted. The claws retracted to fingernails, but the pain lingered. As the last strand of dark hair sank into the wizard's torso, it revealed the scratches and bruises, a kaleidoscope of black, blue, and crimson. This was the wolf's barbaric gift to the blameless man, its souvenir. The werewolf never felt the agony, the consequence. It left the burden to the man. The man who now wept, alone in his unlit and forsaken room. Joel did not want to open his eyes. He wanted to cry the werewolf away. He pleaded with his tears to make it disappear. He needed it to have sympathy, to understand. Joel could not open his eyes. If he did, he would see the horror that was around him. What he created he could not bear any longer. His exhaustion was too great to get through another night, another week, another month. He fell back and collapsed on his injured back, fatigue overtaking him. The pain he felt as he hit the ground didn't matter. He was numb to it, numb to everything. He was ready to end his world. Joel tilted his head backwards, toward the latched window seal. The broken bottle glasses on the ground shaved into his back. He attempted to drink some of the liquid from the damp carpet, but there was no use. The window next to him was boarded up, and much like everything else in the room, it bore the same menacing markings. With a great heave of pain, lulled by Joel's indifference, he got up to his knees, glass drawing blood from his caps. He lifted himself to his feet and drifted towards the boarded window sill. Next to him was an overturned end table. Photographs were spaced out across the floor. He picked up the damaged picture frame nearest him and turned it over in his hands. The photograph was of his former lover and himself when they were both still teenagers at Hogwarts. The younger Joel was holding her from behind, interlacing his fingers between hers in a marriage of hand and palm. They smiled and laughed as they rocked to and fro. The scarred man, though, was unaffected by the photo. He dropped it to the floor, where it floated back and forth until it landed in the end table's drawer. It drifted atop a lightly covered piece of beechwood, a phoenix feather hidden within its long, shaft-like shape. There was so much history in the wand. So many beautiful things came out of it. It had created flowers for the first girl Joel had fancied. It had conjured his first Patronus. But the wand had failed him too. Joel lifted the wand from the broken drawer and waved it effortlessly at the boarded window. The wooden nails fell to the carpet below. Outside the window pane, the clouds were thick, and dawn was approaching, extinguishing the full moon. With another flick of the wrist, he unlatched the lock on the window, opening the pane doors to the crisp morning air. There was a soft breeze. The curtains that decorated the frame danced atop the wind in a melancholic silence. As the breeze streaked across Joel's body, he became aware, suddenly, not of the stinging sensation of his cuts, but his bare naked skin, almost forgetting this other gift the werewolf gave him after transformation. His ripped clothes lay to the far side of the room. Joel stepped up onto the windowsill. Though the wind burned his scars, he responded without a wince. He sat himself on the edge of the window, his wand swaying at his side. His sight was blurry, and it was hard to distinguish the clock tower in the distance, chiming the 4 o'clock hour. He would have looked for his glasses, but they didn't matter now. In the hushed dawn, he looked down to the brilliant wood in his hand, the wood that would end his suffering, his pain, his sorrow and his fear. Deliberately, he placed the beechwood to the side of his temple, pressing it into his skin, touching skull. A single tear escaped his eye as he contorted his face in concentration. He bit his lip until it bled, and his heart began to race in protest of what he was about to do. Avada Kedavra. This program was directed and produced by Antoine Bandele. Music composed by John Williams and Nicholas Hooper. The Son of the Moon, a fanfiction by Antoine Bandele, is a production by A&B Audiobooks. This audiobook is a non-profit work created to showcase the talents of the producers. Its sole purpose is to entertain, and no infringement of any kind is intended. A&B Audiobooks hopes you've enjoyed this program.